I've seen loads of people saying buying and selling motorcycles is an easy way to make a lot of profit. Well, I want to make a lot of profit too. Here's the plan. I wanted to try and buy a dirt cheap bike, fix it myself, and see if I can make a decent profit.
But I've never owned a motorbike before, never mind worked on one.
So this is going to be a challenge. And the goal is to earn at least enough profit to pay for my trousers, jacket, gloves, helmet, and motorcycle license. To do that, I'm going to need to buy a bike. So, I bought this Yamaha MT125 to flip and make a profit. This is a 2015 model with 12,500 miles, and of course it's got its problems that I need to fix. And let's say I've got no idea what I'm doing with motorcycles. The first thing I'll be doing when I get home is giving this a full service because the oil service light came on when I was riding it back to my house. I'm going to be doing the chain and sprocket as well because that has seen better days. The rear brake pedal has snapped off, so I need to get one of those. One of the mirrors is cracked, and when I move the handles left to right and the headlights on, it turns off and then comes back on again, so I need to fix a wire somewhere there. And other than that, it's just cosmetic damage. But the story starts when I went to pick this bike up. And that's because after seeing nobody bid on the bike on eBay, I thought I could go and grab a great deal. So after grabbing a train for the 300-mile journey north, and then another train, finally arrived to see the bike and realised I've got no idea what I'm looking at, but I had a look, the brakes looked bad and the rear tyre looked worse. But I didn't realise how bad because riding at home, the rear tyre exploded. So I pulled over, called around and tried to find recovery home, but I could find no one, leaving me stuck by the side of the road. But amazingly, the house I was stood outside of let me leave the bike in this shed overnight. So needless to say, I went back the next day, took the wheel off on some axle stands, not having a clue what I was doing. But what I did know is this is a bad tyre. So after I got that replaced, I headed to my mate's house before getting an MOT and replaced the front pads because they were absolutely gone. And he helped me with the clutch cable adjustment because it was way too far out on the handle, making it almost impossible to ride. But it was enough work to get myself an MOT pass certificate and begin the long journey home, which didn't last long because the bike started misfiring and cutting out, and I thought I was stuck again. But it turns out it was just the positive battery terminal was a little bit loose. Luckily, the bike had a toolkit with it so I could tighten that up and carry on the 7-hour journey back home. So I bought this bike for £1,350 after negotiating the seller down 50 quid. That's all I could do. And in full working order, I should get about 2,300. So a lot of room for profit. And the first thing to do is give this bike a full service, which was different from a car, but still not all that complicated. I just had to undo all these little screws from this undercover thing. And I ran the engine for 2 or 3 minutes just to get the oil temps up and make sure the oil's a bit thinner so more of it comes out. Then battle with this sump plug for some reason. I think someone got happy with an ugga dugger. Once that was off, no one told me that I need a funnel to stop pouring oil all over the exhaust. Or that on top of the sump plug is this spring and filter. I didn't know that either, but I dug that out of the oil pan. Before cleaning up all the excess oil from the exhaust and that little filter thing. Now I wasn't sure if this was an O-ring or not, but I oiled it anyway and torqued it up and onto the oil filter, which left me a bit of a surprise because I thought there was just a bolt missing. However, after I pulled out the old oil filter, which definitely needed changing, I realised I had to remove this engine cover because what I thought was a missing bolt was actually snapped inside the engine casing. So now we can see that broken bolt. I was hoping it would be protruding a little bit so I could just twist it out with pliers, but that's not the case. So I'm going to have to drill it out. And once that's done, we can get it all back together again and do the chain and sprocket. Now I did get a left-handed bit just in case it wanted to come out easy. Yes, best possible scenario. And amazingly, the drill bit actually caught on the bolt and started twisting it out. Nothing ever goes this well. Woohoo! I wouldn't blame you for thinking that's fake, but that came out so easy. That is such a relief. Right, next I need to source another paper gasket and get this all back together again. I made sure though that I cleaned all the mating faces really well with a razor and some emery tape on the engine and the cover to make sure the mating faces were clean and there'll be no oil leaks. So after 2 hours of driving, finally have this, which is the paper gasket for the engine seal, so we can clean that up, get that on and get on with it. And whilst I was fitting this new oil filter, I was thinking this bike flipping was actually going pretty well, except for that whole scenario when I picked the bike up, which was awful. But I suppose I won't know if this side hustle actually works until it comes to selling the bike, and before then there's a few more things to do. So I filled the engine up with oil and checked it, and interestingly the dipstick on this bike is actually connected to the oil fill cap, which I think it's pretty clever. Then on to doing the spark plug, which was a pain. I actually had to crack it off with a spanner and then use needle nose pliers to undo it because there was no space for a socket. And once I got it out, I realised, just like every other spark plug I've taken out, it looked absolutely fine. And getting it back in, I managed to get a socket onto it, but it kept slipping, so I'm not sure it's tight enough. So we'll find out. Right then, I'm going to try and crank it a few times without starting it, just to get that oil circulating. I don't think any compression's leaking out from the spark plug, which means it's hot enough. Just the air filter left now.
Any words for the fans?
I love you guys. Seriously, I do. And if you're liking the videos, please consider subscribing, because 93% of you aren't subscribed to the channel, and it just means that you're more likely to see my future videos, and also it helps me get brand deals, which means I can flip more cars at the same time, getting more videos out for you guys. Anyway, after I've got that plastic protection thing on, it's time to reset the oil service light on the dash.
Oh, it hurts. Yeah!
Woohoo! And with that done, I'm so glad I don't have to see that oil service light flashing in my face anymore. I'm going to leave the air filter for now. Next thing to do is the chain and sprockets, and then this bike is almost ready to sell. But first, I want to show you a little secret on how to get the cheapest prices possible on any product you like. And that's with an app called Marketplace Monitor, which works worldwide, and it shows you Facebook listings as soon as they get listed. Now, countless times I've seen bargain cars where the seller doesn't know what the car's worth, or they just want to get it sold ASAP. I've messaged to come and see the car an hour after the listing's been up, and it's already sold. So being the first person to see the listing can make you a lot of profit. You can put in any search terms you like, and it'll scour the entire of Facebook Marketplace in your chosen area on any item and give you a notification the second a new one is posted. With my QR code here and the link in the description, you get a 7-day free trial and 50% off your first month subscription. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to buy anything, but if you're already looking for an item like an iPhone or a new laptop, anything like that, or you're going to flip a car or a motorbike, the money you can make or save will pay for 12 months subscription easily, and then you've got the rest of the time to flip more items and make more profit. So help yourself find a bargain easily and sign up now. So first thing to do is get it up on this paddock stand that I managed to borrow, take the rear wheel off and take the chain and sprockets off. And the rear wheel came off easily because I've practiced that before, with a socket on each side of the bolt that goes all the way through the rear wheel. A nut on one side, undo them and pull that bolt out. And with the rear wheel out of the way, I did some Googling and I had to find this split link on the chain.
I'll show you how to replace them in this video from the MC Garage.
I honestly have no idea how this is supposed to come off. There we go, sweet.
But no matter how many YouTube videos I watched, I couldn't get this part of the link off for some reason. It was stuck on. I'm guessing this chain hasn't been changed in years. So I enlisted the help of my friends Hammer and Chisel. And I'm finally making some progress. This isn't so hard. And with a couple of bolts, I have access to the front sprocket, which is bolted onto the crankshaft with 2 bolts. Then I jacked up into the highest gear I could to try and stop it turning, but I think I put it in the lowest gear, so tried it again and got that off pretty easy. And I can replace it with my shiny new front sprocket. But even though I'm selling this back to someone else, it would still be criminal to leave all this gunk and crud in there when I'm here. So I might as well clean it out for them, and it looks nicer for a sale. Then onto the rear sprocket, which is just held on by nuts onto the wheel, and on goes the brand new sprocket, which unfortunately wasn't shiny, but I went and tightened those nuts back up. And usually I joke about torque specs, but on something like this it is important, so torqued all them up. Then greased these weird little spaces that go in between the wheel and the bike, as well as the bolt that goes all the way through the rear wheel.
I greased up my shaft.
And then struggled putting the rear wheel back in the right place. But with that bolt finally through all the way, I can get that nut on and torque it up again to what it should be, before routing through the brand new shiny chain and hooking it on both sprockets. And then with my newfound knowledge, I can clip the chain together again. And I never realised, but the chain tension is actually decided by how far back the rear wheel is.
That's not good.
So I adjusted these bolts, one on each side of the wheel, to push the wheel further back, using these handy little notches on the frame to make sure both sides are even, and adjusting that until the chain moves the correct amount up and down. And after refitting those plastic covers and a bit of chain lube, the bike is almost ready to go for a ride again. I cannot wait. I bet this is going to feel so much better, so let me take you for a ride and see how it feels. This shifts so much better. Before I did the chain, there was such a big jerk whenever I changed gear or put the accelerator on. It's so smooth. That chain and sprocket has completely changed this bike. And with the bike now riding perfectly, it's time to fix this electrical problem with the headlights. I managed to track down the broken wire, luckily, because this is the bit I was dreading the most. So now it's just time to solder it back together again. Which meant I could finally test out my new gas-powered solder, but to do that I first had to splice up the wiring harness to reveal the wires inside, and straight away you can see that that wire is completely snapped. So I stripped off the ends of each side of it, twisted them together and practiced my very bad soldering, but I think it'll work. So onto insulating that and then getting it back in with all the other wires and insulating the outside again.
I've done it with the handlebars leaning left because although I get less grip on the wires, I know that this is the furthest they will be stretched.
Right, moment of truth. Let's see if this works. For the first time, I could move the handlebars all the way left and all the way right without the light coming off. It's working perfectly. I can ride the bike at night again, and the new owner of this bike will be seen in the night with no issues at all. So now that I've drained a lot of the fuel with that ride earlier on, I'm going to do the air filter, which involves removing all the trim off the top of the bike, removing the fuel tank, I think removing the battery, and then I can replace the air filter. The service interval for air filters is quite big, and I'm just going to give it to the new owner because I don't want to break anything. But that's not bad. It's a huge job.
Are you doing it?
Yeah. This is proof that I don't break things when I work on cars. They're already broken. That's ridiculous. After getting angry that half of these fairings were already broke, but convincing myself to go ahead and do the air filter, I had to undo all these bolts around the tank guard, lift that off, and then start removing the fuel tank to access the air filter underneath. With that revealed, I can finally see the air filter, and although they're different colours, it really did not look dirty enough to change, but we're there now anyway. So in goes the fresh new one, and it was pretty simple to screw back in the airbox, get the fuel tank relocated, and then all the plastic trims bolted back onto the bike. And I can give this motorbike one last ride before selling it to the new owner. And what could be better than on that ride seeing this gang of Porsches on the side of the road as I rode past. And this video isn't sponsored, but I picked up a Cardo device, and I can't lie, it is insane. I can't wait to buy another bike and try it out. And the voiceover of the video goes from this to this, and that's because I got given a Cardo headset, and before now I was using AirPods to talk to my friends with my helmet on, and it was insanely uncomfortable. And as well as that, I could hardly tell what they were saying, and they could not hear me at all. I can't even feel the speakers or microphone in this helmet. It's so much better. Although there's no ambient sound for making videos, I can take the audio from the GoPro and put it underneath, which gives you the sound of the wind of the bike. Now I can't wait to get another bike and go riding with my friends and actually be able to speak to them. Not to mention you can listen to music, the radio, podcasts, that sort of stuff. Highly recommend. After the most ridiculous air filter change I've ever done, all that's left now is to polish these forks up, try and get rid of all the rust I can, and then get it cleaned and put it up for sale. Now, because it's Friday night, I'm going to put it up for sale today before cleaning it and seeing if I get any interest, but tomorrow I'm going to clean it anyway, so hopefully I get decent money for this motorbike, but we'll see. I'm going to list it for $2,450 on accept offers. Start off high, see how low I'll get knocked down. But I never got round to selling it because that night I made a quick listing on Facebook Marketplace and quickly got a message. They came round, had a look at the bike, and we agreed a price. It was £2,250, which I was really happy with, to be honest. Almost £1,000 more than what I paid for the bike. But how much did it cost to fix? Now, I didn't spend that much time fixing the bike, but with it leaving me stranded, if you remember from the very start of the video, I had to pay a little bit more to get things done quickly and bring it back home. All in all, I ended up spending £442 on the bike to fix it, which leaves me with a profit of £450 £57. Now, I do want to say almost £70 of that was on a quad lock system, which I needed to ride home because I didn't know where I was going, so I needed something to hold my phone and show me the directions. So that could have been knocked off. My insurance was £63, and that's because I ended up riding it for quite a while. I really enjoyed it, but that could have been cut down a lot as well. It cost me £50 to get the train to go and collect the bike. The tyre, including balancing and fitting onto the wheel, was £94. The brake pads I probably could have got cheaper as well. They were £55. So yeah, I definitely achieved my goal of paying for all of my motorcycle gear and my motorcycle license, and as well I did my motorcycle theory test, which it also ended up paying for. So I'm really happy with that. Remember, if you like this video, please think of subscribing. It really helps me out. Like the video and mention your thoughts in the comments. You can check my videos here where I buy and flip cars for profit, and I've got some other interesting ideas coming up soon, so watch out for those.